Hi everybody, good morning. This is Jean here from Truelove Quilts for You. What I'm going to be doing today is just the beginning tutorial of my bookshelf quilt. And I was thinking about it. A couple of you have been, if you've been following along, perhaps you've seen my quilt that I had showed you in my front room, and then I did another little tutorial on, saying maybe I'll do a tutorial on this. That quilt, if you want to examine it more in depth, is on my Etsy shop page in sold orders. If you just look up Truelove Quilts for You on Etsy, it goes to my shop. You can just go where it says sales, and it's about 8 or 9 sales back. There's about 5 or 6 close-up images that you can refer to, and also on the last video of some closer up images of my quilt. And all of you were like, oh, could you do a tutorial on that quilt? So here I am. Now, I was saying before, I never make the same quilt twice. I have to sort of be inspired. I don't follow a pattern quite a lot of the time. But because there was an overwhelming response, I thought, okay, I'll do this. But it's not going to be exact, obviously, as I've addressed before, because I don't have the exact images. You won't have the exact images, but I can just give you a ballpark figure of what to start with. Now, if you're following along, hopefully you will be, like me, you will be collecting images. Now, I have, as you know, I've had, where are they? Oh, yeah. I've been collecting tons of images, tons of lace, doilies, things to put on my shelves. No rhyme or reason for it. Oh, I found some fabric with money. I'll address that because I backed it with like an interfacing so it doesn't fray. So I'm just going to have some money stuck on my shelf. And I had just done that, and I found a fabric with some railroad tickets. So they're just going to be stuck on the side somehow. Again, whatever your images are, that's what your limited, or the world is your oyster, what you can put on your knick-knack shelf. Whether it's going to be a pantry shelf, whether it's going to be a library shelf, whether it's going to be a bookcase shelf, is up to you. I'm going to have a little bit of everything. You know me. More is never enough. So here are all my images. But before we get to that, hopefully you will have started collecting them. What you want to start with, obviously, is your black for your shelves. And what I had gotten from equilter.com, I'd shown you before, I had gotten the wood look fabric. It's a wood paneling looking grained fabric, which I've used on my shelves, for my shelf and my bookcase surround. And again, I'm going to show you what I've cut here, but as far as cutting the again, refer to my picture. As far as cutting the sort of the molding on the top of your bookcase, that's up to you. You might want it straight. You might want it very curly. I had mine sort of started in the middle, sort of a mirror image, a molding going across, sort of like the top. What do you call them in this country? They're like the top molding on top of a bookcase. I had made mine a little bit more ornate, but there was a trick that I thought, just visually your eye sees. If you are fortunate enough to use a wood grain fabric, which is directional, you want your molding and your shelves all to be going the same way. Now, this fabric that I got is the width of the fabric. Hopefully you can see it. My wood shelf is going this way along the length, but I want to use the vertical of my print. I want my bookshelf. Oh, there's my phone. Do you believe every time I'm filming, my phone goes off? Anyway, maybe it's Maxwell. Oh no, it's my Ying. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, if you have a directional fabric, I like to have my wood grain going vertically, up and down. And so therefore you would need a little bit more fabric. I think I bought about 2 yards of this. You're not going to use it all, but you would only, you would think, oh, I only have to make a few shelves. I would only make half a yard. Well, that would be, no, wait a second. Yeah. I want to get the vertical going across the top. Anyway, you know me. I'm not telling you how much to buy. I bought like 2 yards of this. I'm going to have leftovers. So that's that. I'll show you how I cut my wood grain fabric. If you're using a brown fabric, you won't need that much because you're just going to be cutting it in the shape of the shelves, which are just 5 strips, and the top molding. So I have actually started cutting my black material for my shelves. Now, oh, I didn't even measure this. I just ripped it. I'm going to measure it. So I cut 5 shelves. Oh, this ruler. Oh, it's weird. 1, 2. Anyway, a little ruler I just found. I think this is about 10 inches. I cut 4 pieces of shelving fabric. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of shelving fabric. I just cut them widthwise, the width of the fabric. But I found my fabric, this is like a cone of cotton, which is a nice fabric. I found about 45 inches. I don't want my quilt that big. I don't want it 45 inches, my shelving, and then add it, because it'll end up a decent sized quilt. And the quilt I want is more of a wall hanging. So what I did is I cut down my length of fabric, my 10 inches. I cut this down to 41 inches. I cut 4 inches off the side. So my shelving, my 4 shelves are 10 inches by 41. My top shelf is 12, I think. Yeah, is 12 inches by 41. Again, if you refer back to my picture of my shelf, the top shelf is a little bit bigger because you have to see it behind the molding. So that's the black fabric, however much fabric, not very much, you don't need an awful lot. Now for my shelving, my wood, I'm cutting a piece, or I'm cutting 5 pieces of just my initial shelving. I'm not worried right now about cutting my surround or my sides of my bookshelf. That will come later. I know I will have enough. What I'm doing is I'm cutting my 5 pieces on the vertical. I'm cutting these, the 41 inches. But if you are using this wood grained fabric, just a little trick. I actually line up that design of the wood grain. And then I've cut 5 of these, selvage to selvage, but then I'll line up this wood grain across for my shelving. I have to iron this one on my phone. That's my friend Ying. She's a sweetheart. She's expecting a baby, and she's young, but she's my dearest friend. So I'm putting these up. I'm just making my 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I cut these around 3 1/4 inches. My horizontal shelves, my 5 shelves. I cut this piece about 3 1/2 inches wide, and then I'm cutting it to about 41 inches. But I'm lining up my grain. I'm just cutting this loosely. The edges I'll sort out. Just cutting it. I'm not real precise. Yeah. Just cut there. Then I've lined it up with my shelf, and I just think visually you're going to see, or you think your eye may actually see the shelving oops, right there. The way the shelves are going. That's just my little thing. So I have all my wood grain shelves going the exact same way. Again, if you're just using brown fabric, you will need 5 pieces at this point of 3¼ inch by 41 inches. The exact width of our shelves. Now, since we have that cut, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my little stash here, and what you're going to wanting to do is, if you refer to my photograph or not, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to attach, I'm going to sort of lay it out firsthand. I'm going to my top row, I'm just going to visually figure it out. So here's my top row. Now I think on my top row, I want a bit of lace on my shelf. So I'll just put that there. I got about, what, 1.5 yards or something like that. I've had this lace. And again, I just cut it to a little bit longer. So I'm looking at this and I think, oh, I like that very much. But what you have to do if you're going to attach lace onto your shelf, what you do next is you're going to right sides together. You're going to stitch the lace down to your bottom of your shelf. You're going to pin that, or you're going to pin both of them right sides together, and then you're going to take your top shelf and you're going to put that on there, and you're going to stitch that right sides together so your lace is enclosed inside your shelf. You get that? So I have about 2 hunks of lace here. I have a wider lace. I might use that. I might have shelves. I might have, oh, I like that lace. That's pretty. I won't use that big thing. I'll just cut off a little bit of that scalloped lace. So whatever you have, if you want lace, that's how you do it. You lay down your lace. You might want to just baste it on, just maybe 1/2 inch away from the edge, and then you want to put your first shelf down. And then you end up, okay, so there's your first shelf, and then you take your 10-inch piece, right sides together, you put it on the bottom of your shelf, your wooden shelf there. Then if you want to do another bit of lace, here's a bit of flat lace on your second shelf, you do the exact same thing. But say you want to use a doily. You want a doily. Well, I have a little doily. I'm going to actually cut my doily in half. I have a little half a doily, and I'll just do the exact same thing. Right sides together. I just put that over there. Pin that on or baste it on, and then right sides together with my next shelf. So do you understand? You're just building your shelves. But if you have hankies, or if you have doilies, here's a hanky. If you have hankies or doilies, you want to attach them onto your shelf. So you put them right sides together before you add your wooden shelves. Do you get that? So you have your black background of your bookcase, and then you're attaching your lace, your doilies, or your hankies onto your black, and then you're attaching the shelves themselves. All right, so I'm going to and then basically that's going to be the inside of your bookcase. Think about it. That's just, it's very, very simple. This quilt's very simple. Just think about, like, if you're going to use lace, just lay it down. Don't stretch it because you don't want puckers or anything. Keep going over to your ironing board. Press it very gently so you have a nice black with shelves with either hankies or doilies or lace or whatever you want. You may not even want lace or doilies or hankies. If you don't want that, then you can literally just construct black shelf unit. black shelf. Black shelf. 5 blacks and 5 shelf units. 5 wooden shelf units, yeah. So if you just want it plain, we are then, I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to construct this. We are then going to have the fun part of actually putting our images, whatever they may be, onto, I have a cat here, onto our shelves. Maybe I'll put my cat down at the bottom. Now again, somebody said, oh, how about the perspective, or the not the perspective, the size of your of the bits on your shelf. Well, I don't know, it's like a fantasy thing, isn't it? You know, like I got little tiny cupcakes, and I had this cupcake fabric. This is on my original one. I like this cupcake fabric. I like that cupcake fabric. So this is when we're going to go to town. We're going to have so much fun putting our stuff on our shelves. I got a whole bunch of stuff here. I have some books. I have some, look, I have a saucer jar. Now, I'm going, oh, you wanted to get some glue sticks, some Elmer's glue stick. That's fine. We can just glue it down. Or you can actually do it really properly and get it, I guess, like a, I don't know, an iron-on interfacing backing or web or something. I just use glue. And then, I addressed this before, you don't have to free motion quilt. If you just use a nice glue stick, it'll just stay glued, and it's a wall hanging. And that's it. And then you can just sort of quilt the shelves themselves. But I'm going to quilt the whole thing, and I'm really going to attach with free motion quilting. This is what I addressed before. If you're a beginner, don't know free motion quilting, I don't know. So just iron down your bits, but that's going to come in the next part, the next bit. I'm just going to now, I want you to construct your shelves. Do you get that? If you're going to put your hankies in, you're going to put your doilies in, it doesn't take a rocket science. You do your black, bit of lace, your shelf, black, doilies, your shelf. All right sides together and make this nice black and shelf bookcase, the inside of our bookcase. We're not worried about the surround right now. We're not worried about our bits going on. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. Oh, I got a beautiful teapot fabric. I love that teapot. And it just came, actually. I'd ordered that off of eBay. I'd had some before, and it hadn't come. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased about that. I have all sorts of bits. Like I said, I have this money, this money fabric. It's cute. So anyway, oh, I have a book. I have books. I actually have books on my shelf. That's funny. I didn't have books on the other one. I did. So I had books. I have some pantry items. Whoops. I have some vegetable stuff. My shelves are going to have everything on them. So maybe whatever yours has, it's wonderful. But this is my shelves. I'm going to construct my bookcase for now with my doilies and my lace, and then we'll go from there. So I hope that made sense to you. I hope you've been collecting stuff. Tune in for the next bit. Get some Elmer's glue, or however you want to stick them down, and then we'll go from there. All right, folks. Thanks a lot for following along. I appreciate it. See ya. Bye. I was just watching my video of my introduction to my tutorial for my bookcase quote, and I just thought I would come over to my machine and show you a little bit what I've done, because I realized the camera angle wasn't all that great. I've actually just put the my first shelf together. As I was saying, I used a 12-inch one for the top, and then I've cut my wood grained fabric here at 3 1/4 inches. I believe in the video I said 3 1/2. It was 3 1/4, something like that. 3 inches, doesn't really matter. If you want your shelves smaller, you can make them smaller. This is what I do. And then I inserted my lace inside, and I've just added my next shelf. So what I've done is I just put my lace there, and then I put the wooden shelf. But I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm with my doilies. Remember, I cut out a couple doilies. I don't know, I'll just stick them here. So I'm just going to like attach that. a black thread, just attach that doily on the edge just to secure it. Now you will see that I've done sort of the right side to the right side of this fabric because it's going to flip down. Remember, it's going to hang over our shelf. I'll just put this one here, no rhyme or reason, like my bookshelf will be. I just secure this one. If there's a right and a wrong side to the doily, I think this is it. That's just to secure it. Now, I have my new shelf, and I want to make sure, remember I told you that there's my grain. So this is this end here. Hopefully you can see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this right side over onto here, starting at the end. If this doesn't match, we can just trim this side down. So I'll just backstitch. I'm doing a little bit more than 1/4 inch. I don't know, whatever, between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. Just laying this on. I'm not pinning anything. I'm just laying my almost like we do the jelly roll. I'm just laying this fabric on top. I'm not pinning, although by all means you can pin. Come to my end. Just sort of match this up. And I'm using a black thread. As you can see, I'm capturing that doily. There's my doily, you can hear that. Right sides together. And there is my second shelf. You see that? It will go this way. There's my second shelf. And the way the fabric wants to go, the seam is going upwards. So with the doily hanging down. You see that my lace is hanging down, my doilies are hanging down. So I'll just go over and I'll press this seam up. So the doily lays nice, but it's actually free. So that was my point. I think my next shelf, I'm not going to have any, I won't have any, let me just get that. I don't think I'll have any lace or anything on my next shelf. I might have a few hankies on my 4th shelf. So I have my 10-inch fabric. I'm going to put, with Kona cotton, there's no right or wrong side. So I'm just going to match up my sides. And this is as it were, the right sides of the fabric, the black. And I'm stitching with black thread, so you can't really see. If you have a wider lace, make sure it's not, you're not catching it on your next shelf. Again, you may not have lace on your bookshelf. You may not have doilies. But I just wanted to show you. I sort of come along and I match the ends. I haven't pinned anything. Get my doily out of the way. My ends are together, my edges. And there's my 3rd shelf. So there is my 3rd shelf. See, so constructing your shelf isn't going to take all that long. It's just black shelf, black shelf, black, and continue for your 5 backgrounds and your 5 shelves. So I'm going to attach my next shelf along here, and then I might put some more lace or some hankies. But this is the basics of the construction of our inside of our bookshelf. I thought you just wanted to see that. Okay, thanks folks. Bye.